Hello children, I'm Sunil Kumar Pandey, your English teacher from Cambridge International School, Dasua. In this video, I'll first discuss my model answers to the exercises posted on 5th June 2020. And after that, I will refer you to another passage in your book. I will read out the passage with a view to explaining difficult portions to you, and then assign you another task and also discuss the outlines of that task with you. So let's begin with the model answers. The first question in the exercises posted on 5th June required you to point out where you would divide that passage into paragraphs. So here I have reproduced the passage and clearly demarcated the paragraphs. That's my scheme of paragraphing. Yours might be a bit different, but of course, one paragraph must deal with one aspect of the topic. Second question required you to assign a heading in your own words to these different paragraphs. So I have given these headings: para 1 architecture, it could also be town planning or buildings; para 2 shopping options; para 3 the waterfront; para 4 Table Mountain; para 5 Robben Island; and para 6 beaches and water sports. Alright, the third question was more tricky. It required you to sum up all the attractions for visitors to Cape Town in just one sentence, if you remember. Well, I don't know whether you have tried or not, because one very discouraging thing is that I am not receiving any answers from you. So please attempt the questions and send your answers to me either on my WhatsApp number or to my Gmail address. If you don't have those numbers, you can take them from your class teachers as well. So please attempt the questions and send me the answers. But for now, my answer to this third question is: Cape Town offers several art galleries and a blend of architectural styles for the connoisseurs of art and architecture. Connoisseurs means those who are of a refined taste and fond of something sophisticated. A range of elegant malls, antique shops and craft markets for the shopping enthusiasts. The waterfront with its pubs, restaurants and theatre for those who just want to hang around and enjoy themselves. The Table Mountain and the tempting beaches for those into adventure such as mountaineering or water sports. And the Robben Island for those who are fascinated by history. So you can see this is a pretty long sentence, but still very easy, very fluid to read and understand. It condenses so much information, basically using punctuation marks, commas in the main, but also some complex sentences in between. So try to write your own answers if you haven't done so far and send them to me. Okay, so much about the previous day's assignment. Now here I have today's assignment for you. I am sending you a few pages of the book many of you have that book, some might not have that book. So those who have the book can use the book, those who do not have can read it from here. This passage titled Day 56 Luxor. This seems to be from a diary entry. I read the question, I read the point 11, not exactly question. Read the passage below, which is about a stop in Egypt during a journey from the North Pole to the South Pole without using air transport. Well, quite an interesting kind of passage. Okay, so I read the passage with you. Follow me. At 5:35 in the morning, the train pulls into Luxor. Pull into. This does not mean pulling, which we usually understand from the term. Pull into means stop. So the train pulls into Luxor, known by the Greeks as Thebes, 420 miles south of Cairo in Upper Egypt. I cannot conceal my excitement at being here for the first time in my life. Conceal means hide. Luxor station is tastefully monumental in decoration. I will not explain the word monumental because there is a question on it. This is an underlined word, as you can see. With tall columns, gilded details on the doors. Gilded means covered with a polish of gold. Eagle heads and a hieroglyphic design. Hieroglyphic is also an underlined word, I won't explain it. Somehow incorporating, again underlined word, which I am not going to explain. Power stations, railways and ancient history. Figures materialize from the pre-dawn gloom, mark the language, to offer us taxi rides. You will never stand on your own for long in Egypt. Next para. We shall be joining a Nile cruise. Cruise, you understand, and Nile is the name of the river, the main river of Egypt, for the next leg of our journey, next stage of our journey. And as we drive along the river to find our boat, the Isis is the name of the boat, I can see ranks of chunky 4-storied vessels. Chunky, I leave for you to find out. Maybe 100 in all, lined up along the riverbank, awaiting the day the tourists come back. My guide to Luxor is so here. I will pause to understand it better. The writer is to join a Nile cruise, and he drives and then he has started. No, he is still in drive. As we drive along the river to find our boat, I can see ranks of these vessels. They are awaiting their tourists to come back, awaiting the day tourists come back. Probably the tourists had already occupied those boats. They have gone for sightseeing and they are to come back. Anyway, that's not our concern. Next para. My guide to Luxor is a tall, straight, matchstick thin aristocrat of the business. Matchstick thin. Mark the metaphor. Of the business, whose name is Tadaros, but who asks me to call him Peter. It's easier. I would rather call him Tadaros, but he doesn't look the sort you argue with. He is 83 years old, and as a boy of 14 was present when the archaeological Howard Carter first pushed open the door of Tutankhamun's tomb. Tutankhamun is the name of an ancient king of Egypt whose mummy, preserved dead body, has caused a lot of excitement in in archaeological and historical circles. Peter takes me across on the Nile ferry boat to a cluster of mud buildings, a collection of mud buildings on the west bank opposite the city. We are driven past fields of sugar cane and alongside an irrigation canal financed by the Russians in 1960. The greenery ends abruptly as we climb a winding road up into barren. Winding means taking several turns into barren, infertile, rubble-strewn, scattered with small pebbles scattered desert. Then we are into the Valley of the Kings, which resembles a gigantic quarry. Quarry means a stone mine, littered with rock debris. See, the underlined word is debris, but I am pronouncing it debris. Check its pronunciation online and find the meaning as well, because it's an underlined word. In fact, don't look up the meaning in the first instance, just wait for the instructions. Bleached white by the sun, which has become white due to the chemical reactions in presence of the sunlight. We leave the bus and walk up towards the tombs. Again, this is TOMBS, but I am pronouncing it tomb. Check the pronunciation and also find out the meaning. Well, I tell you the meaning. Tombs are buildings erected on graves as a sort of memorial. For example, our Taj Mahal, very well known building, is a tomb. In dry and scorching heat, scorching is a very important adjective to be used with heat, with sun. Scorching, that burns you. Peter estimates the temperature at 40 degrees Celsius or 104 degrees Fahrenheit. This vast metropolis contains necropolis. Well, again, I leave this word for you to be explored, and we will discuss this tomorrow when we discuss the answer keys. This vast necropolis contains the remains of 62 pharaohs. Pharaohs is the term pharaohs, you may say. Ancient Egyptian kings were known as pharaohs. The remains of 62 pharaohs of the new kingdom established in Thebes between 3000 and 3500 years ago. It was discovered or rediscovered, as Peter corrects me, in 1892. Only 40 of the tombs have been found, and all bar mean except one, had been emptied by robbers, because these tombs contained a lot of gold and silver, a lot of valuable objects. At 5:35 in the morning, the train. No, this we have already read. Next part. We walk down into the tomb of Ramses III. The walls are covered in rich paintings and complex inscriptions, illustrating, showing through examples, showing through figures, the progress of the pharaoh on his journey through the underworld, not Mumbai underworld. This underworld, the imaginary world which we go to after our death, filled with wicked serpents, evil serpents, snakes, crocodiles and other creatures waiting to devour him. Devour is also an underlined word, I leave it out. Because of the dry desert air, they are well preserved, an extraordinary historical document. The sun is setting behind the Valley of the Kings when we return on the ferry. At this, now my initial guess is confirmed. Tourists go to this place on boats, and the boats wait for them in the harbor till they come back after their trip. At this indescribably beautiful time of day when the rich golden brown of the lower sky spill just like water spills onto the surface of the Nile, turning it an intense amber. Amber is a color, and the palm trees along the bank glow for a few precious minutes. In the reflection, it's not difficult to imagine the power and spectacle of a funeral procession bearing the god king's body across the same river. Those pharaohs were known as god kings. They were considered to be representatives or incarnations of gods. Body across this same river 3,500 years ago. So the writer is immersed in his imaginations of the past at the beginning of his last and most important journey, the journey to the other world. So you would have noticed this passage is not like the previous two passages which were factual. This also describes a place, but it is more colorful. It uses a different kind of language to create a different kind of atmosphere, and the exercises are also concerned with that. You first attempt the exercises, then we will discuss further about these aspects. You are to do question number 12 and 13 with all its three parts. 14 and 15 are not difficult. Okay, question numbers 12, 13, 14, 15. 12 is 5 words in the passage are underlined, which we already saw. Can you guess their meaning by looking at their context? That means you are not to look up for these words in a dictionary or online. You have to guess their meaning from the context, means the other words around them. After you have done so, use a dictionary to check your guesses, then write synonyms for the 6 words in your personal vocabulary list. This you have to do. 13 question, which words and phrases in the passage best illustrate the appearance of 3 things? The West Bank and the Valley of the Kings. Here you are not to find out any factual information. Here you are to find out the words and phrases that make these descriptions more effective. Let me see how well you do it. B, the tomb of Ramses in paragraph 8. C, the Nile at sunset, paragraph 9. For each of your choices, explain why they are effective. Okay, then 14th, scan the passage for the information given about Luxor. Okay, leave 14th, 15th, 16th now. Only read the passage. Do question number 12 and question number 13 with all 3 parts. Okay, so your task for today is to read the passage and do question numbers 12 and 13 only. Because now we are coming to our main concern, language. And here we encounter for the first time more figurative, more effective language. So we will divide this part into 2. We will discuss this part in 2 days because several aspects of language have to be discussed. So do questions number 12 and 13, send their answers to me, and then look for my answers to be posted tomorrow. Thank you.